And then is Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel. Her job may be on the line after her coalition rejects a tough migration deal. I want to bring in European Parliament member Nigel Farage, Merkel's Interior Minister. Nigel, even offering to resign. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts are there was a big European meeting at the end of last week, the heads of 28 countries coming together. There's a big battle here because the European Union wants to have a common policy for the whole of Europe, but the individual member states, they want the ability to decide themselves who can come into their countries. It's a row that's been brewing really now for 2 years. It's led to massive electoral change, of course, a new government in Italy, and now in Germany, the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, now at record highs for them in the polls, ahead of the socialists in Germany, putting huge pressure on the traditional Conservative Party. Mrs. Merkel came back with a deal that were some nice words on a piece of paper, but meaningless. Mr. Seehofer, the Interior Minister, has threatened to resign, and they'll be meeting within the next couple of hours. I can't tell you whether Mrs. Merkel will be gone in the next couple of weeks, but I can tell you Mrs. Merkel is history before too long.
To your point, Angela Merkel saying, hey, there was a humanitarian crisis a couple of years ago with respect to Syria, but now seems like maybe she's trying to move to the middle on this. Maybe she sees the political winds. It's not hard to miss after what happened in Italy. And to your point, what's happening around the world, a sort of rejection of the establishment, particularly on immigration policies.
Yeah, but for Mrs. Merkel now to try and shift policy is ridiculous. I mean, they have let in 1.6 million people. In fact, they actually encourage people to cross the Mediterranean because Mrs. Merkel said we can cope. That is leading to huge social problems in Germany. Communities feeling really unhappy about the change that's been brought over them. I don't think, even if Mrs. Merkel went down on her knees and said, I'm sorry to the German people, that frankly that's good enough. She has to pay the price for one of the biggest political mistakes we've seen in modern times. She is finished. It's just a question of when.
Earlier in the year, when Italy surprised the world with this sort of bifurcated government, Northern League and Five Star, Germany's a top member of Germany sort of said, hey, when their markets were hammered, this is what they deserved. Maybe this will scare people straight and get them off this sort of anti-establishment, anti-Euro bandwagon. I think it backfired miserably, but you do have efforts still in the UK to sort of get rid of Brexit and to keep England as part of the EU, despite the fact that the people there have already made their displeasure known.
Yeah, I mean, what is going on within the UK at the moment from the establishment is frankly disgusting. We have the big multinational companies, their friends amongst the investment banks, many members of the career political class doing their best to stop Brexit from happening. And one or two of them, Tony Blair and others, think they can get away with this. Believe me, if they scupper Brexit, they will reap a political whirlwind, the likes of which they can't even imagine. The electorates across the West, we've had enough of being threatened. We've had enough of being told by big companies that unless we do it their way, we'll all be worse off. We frankly don't believe them anymore. And all of this on the day when we learn that when President Obama said we'd be at the back of the line if we voted for Brexit, it was confirmed today that David Cameron put him up to it. Is it any wonder we're so contemptuous of our leaders?
Yeah, and it goes on. Nigel's always great talking to you, even with the delay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
It does. Thank you.